that real estate professionals are facing. And then we're going to look at how to set up your accounts correctly, your assets, to
Okay.
protect yourselves from those threats.
All righty, sir.
So first, I'd like to get started with a quick introduction of myself. So my name is David Schall. I attended K-State where I received 2 bachelor's degrees, one in industrial engineering and the other in electrical engineering. I then went on to receive my master's in computer engineering with a focus on security from Missouri S&T. And I've worked as a government contractor for about the last 8 years, developing products for national security. And last year, decided to create this company called Protect Cyber Solutions to help businesses, small businesses, entrepreneurs, and individuals protect themselves from threats online. On the right, you could see a photo of my family here. So my wife next to me and my 3-year-old son, and then now my 15-month-old daughter. And there's a link to my website, and I'll have a link at the end as well. All right, so why real estate? Why realtors? Why do we care? Well, we need to focus on real estate because data is available publicly. You have listings in MLS, you have county records. There's a lot of information out there that can be used against you. There's also a significant incentive for hackers because of the large dollar value of those transactions. There's also many parties involved in those transactions, which causes confusion, but there's a lot of sensitive information shared. So keeping that tight knit and that control is difficult. And lastly, there are limited resources available for real estate agents or even affordable for real estate professionals because most of the solutions today are focused on those large enterprises with a lot of funding going towards cybersecurity. So we'll start with a couple examples. First, this example from December of last year, Security First Title out of Wichita, Kansas. They reported an unauthorized individual who was able to gain access to their IT systems. This breach compromised sensitive consumer information, including social security numbers, financial data, health data, and other personal details. This shut down operations for a brief time, and the clients had to actually go to other financial and title institutes to close on their accounts. So it's not just real estate agents, it's the full real estate industry that is targeted. Another example, so back in August of 2023, I don't know how many of you were aware of this one, but Reputoni is one of the software and service providers for MLS, and they got hit with a ransomware attack that shut down all of their services for a period of time. So this was a big disruption to the industry. A lot of transactions had to be reworked, some manual on paper, some via spreadsheets and things like that, and really kind of disrupted the industry as a whole and was kind of bringing light to some of the risks in the environment. So what significant threats we actually have in real estate? So real estate has actually been a hot topic over the past few years because it's one of the top sectors for reported losses by victims. So here's a chart from FBI, and in 2022, there are nearly $400 million reported in losses in real estate crimes. And in 2023, that was nearly $150 million. It's no surprise because when you look at the number of attempts and transactions, nearly 1 in 4 are targeted with suspicious communications during closing. More than 1 in 10 become targets of fraud, and then more than 1 in 20 actually become victims. The risks are not being well communicated, and that's my challenge to you all after today, is to communicate this with your clients and your peers so that we can help mitigate some of those risks. Because today, 51% of all consumers are only somewhat or not aware of fraud risks during the closing process. And this is from a report from this year looking back at 2023. And so it's recent data, and it's sad to see that there's still that much unawareness. And every year there's going to be new victims. So I'll give an example. In 2023, a victim in Stamford, Connecticut was in the process of purchasing their home. They received an email from their attorney instructing them to wire $426,000 to a financial institution to finalize their closing. The victim was unaware that this email was actually spoofed. So that takes us to business email compromise. So business email compromise is the most common scam in real estate. And this extends beyond just email and can be business account compromise, such as social media accounts, YouTube accounts, or other software accounts. And it's actually one of the most costly crimes that's tracked by the FBI. In 2023, there are $2.9 billion in losses due to business email compromise. Business email compromise is a sophisticated scam that targets both businesses and individuals who perform legitimate transfer of fund requests. The scam is frequently carried out when an individual compromises a legitimate business account or personal email through social engineering or computer intrusion. Scammers browse publicly available information through social media or online directories uh, to learn about a victim, impersonate key contacts, and exploit their trust. This is known as social engineering. Another form of social engineering is called phishing. And how many of you have seen a phishing email, received a phishing email or a suspect email from someone you didn't know? Yeah, I see a lot of shaking heads. Okay, good. Yeah, those hopefully you didn't click on any of those, but it is definitely the most prevalent form of attack, and also the easiest to for hackers to gain access. There's also two other forms: vishing, which is the use of voice, so this is a phone call primarily, and smishing, which is text messages or SMS. These are used to deceive the individual into revealing sensitive information or installing malware. So computer intrusion is like that malware or a virus that allows an attacker to gain access to accounts or information through your device. So they can install malware to grab credentials or that sensitive information and point it straight back to the attacker. So I want to give a quick example of how easy it is these days with the evolution of AI and all the tools available. I gave a prompt to ChatGPT, simple, asking it to write a letter to my client, informing them that we need to change their um, the wire instructions. So this is all written by ChatGPT, and I would say it's pretty convincing. Dear new homeowners, and now this in a real life example, the attacker would leverage social media or any postings that they see of a potential closing and probably insert the new homeowners' names here. But I hope this email finds you well and you're excited about your upcoming move into your new home. As we approach the closing date, I wanted to bring to your attention an important update regarding the wiring of funds for the closing process. After a thorough review, our financial team has identified a need to update the account information for wiring the closing funds. This change is necessary to ensure a smooth and secure transaction. Please find below the updated wiring instructions. Kindly ensure that you use these updated details for wiring funds for closing. It's crucial that we have the correct information on file to prevent delays or complications in the process. Now, I don't know about you, but I would be convinced by that. And all it took was about 30 seconds of a prompt through ChatGPT. So, how can we prevent wire fraud and business email compromise? Well, first, we want to make sure that we're keeping that information closely guarded. We want to prevent uh, sharing that information on social media or any potential transactions over open public communications until those are closed. We want to make sure that we're using secure communication methods during the transactions. There's a lot of specialized software for realtors that's available that requires logins that helps to protect that information. And then also, if you're using email, make sure you're using encrypted emails to protect. You also want to make sure that you verify any changes to account or personal information during the process. It's best to use secure or alternate communication methods, and you can verify these over the phone or in person. Now, as a quick aside, I want to mention that if you're dealing with high profile or high risk clients, you may need to use other verification methods or make sure you're always doing it in person. There's a there's a great 60 Minutes episode that talks to the threats with AI and how voice verification will be less trustworthy as we move forward. So there's a link there. You can check it out. So Rachel Toback is a social engineer who does a phenomenal job. Hackers will find an opening into a title company's or realtor's email account. They'll leverage valuable information like property addresses, closing dates, name of the title company, and agent names to launch well-timed emails to the client. To address this, we want to make sure that we secure our any accounts, and we'll cover this soon. But lastly, if you experience any fraud or attempted fraud, make sure you report it. IC3.gov is FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, and this is the best forum for reporting those crimes. Because of the large dollar value of financial real estate transactions, they are very eager to help in those situations. Now, as I mentioned, the risks have been growing, awareness has been growing, and I know a lot of title companies today are requiring these fraud alerts as part of closing documents. So this is an example that's provided here in the South Central Kansas that all parties have to sign that just goes to communicating the risks, and make sure you communicate to your clients, disclose, disclose, disclose. If they see, hear anything, make sure they say something, make sure they're calling you, communicating with you at all times. All right, so we've discussed a couple ways to prevent business email and account compromise, but next I want to focus on how we're going to secure your accounts. So first, account separation. Your information is public. As real estate professionals, you're wanting potential clients to find you. Your information, you're spreading it out as wide as you can to make sure that you're casting a broad net to get leads. So this is great for getting those leads, but it's also a great opportunity for criminals. That information can be used against you to gain access to your accounts. And this goes especially for phone numbers and email addresses. Phone numbers are often used as a primary identifier, but unfortunately, they're easily spoofed or stolen, especially for text-based authentication. Passwords should never get reused for both personal and professional accounts, because most breaches, and there's new data breaches every day, they use those stolen credentials from those breaches to gain entry into a lot of your accounts. So if you keep unique passwords for each of your accounts, then it's one less thing to worry about. And then lastly, it's best to separate your social media accounts from your professional accounts when possible. Use a personal account to control a business page, for example. Your professional account will be a target, and it's best that the account that you use to access it is not a publicly known email address or phone number. Remember, the goal of the account separation is to reduce your risk. All right, so next we want to limit access. So some of you work on teams, large teams, maybe you contract out some assistants, but when you do, you need to make sure that you're restricting access only to the individuals that need it. So your accounts and information may include a CRM, document management systems, and communication platforms. We want to make sure we're defining clear roles and responsibilities for who can post on social media, who will have access to client data, and then who is allowed to actually communicate with the client during a transaction. This will help to reduce the number of individuals that can be leveraged by scammers. And then remember, when we separate and limit access to individuals when they're former employees or partners, we can easily remove them from our systems to make sure that they no longer have access to data that they don't need. All right, so next I want to walk you through Facebook accounts and how we're going to put this separation and roles and responsibilities into practice. So here's an example of your business page. So if you go to meta or business.facebook.com, you'll see this screen. And we want to find that gear icon at the bottom. We'll click Settings, and then that'll bring up this page. So under the People menu, you'll be able to see everybody that has access to your business assets, such as your business page, your Instagram accounts, threads, and more. So to invite people to roles, we're just going to click this button, Invite People, and it'll pop up this this form. So you enter the name of the partner that you'd like to add, and you can even grant temporary access if you'd like and set the time frame that they'll have access. And then we'll click next. And this is where you'll be able to determine the access available to the new user. So you can see there are several different options, and in most partnership or assistant settings, partial access basic will be plenty fine. Full control adds a lot of risk to the account, allows you to post ads and other things that can add risk. All right, so now we'll go back to the page now that we've added our new person, and you'll be able to see everybody that has access here again. And at any time, you can actually click on the individual's name and you can change the access that they have. All right, so next we're gonna scroll down on the left side of the page to business assets, and this is where you'll be able to control which assets your business has, and then you'll get to see who has full control and partial control of these assets. And then one of my favorite things, if you go to the security center, here we're able to force everybody that we work with to use two-factor authentication if they have access to the business page. And we'll get to more into two-factor authentication next. All right, so how do we protect our assets? First, use a strong, unique password for all accounts. And on my website, I have a good resource on how to create a secure password and some tips and pointers there. Use multi-factor authentication. So there's several apps like Authy, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator that can be used that have that are honestly one of the best forms of two-factor authentication. There's also these hardware tokens. So this is called a YubiKey, and this just plugs in to your computer via USB or wirelessly connects to your phone to actually do that second factor authentication. That means if anybody wants access to my account, they have to have this physical device. And then lastly, SMS, text message, if you must. It is unfortunately, SMS is easy to spoof. There's an attack called SIM swapping, where an attacker can actually look like your phone number and receive all calls and text messages for a short period of time, get those second factor authentication codes, and then gain access to your accounts. SMS-based tokens are also easy to be socially engineered from an individual. If you use an app, it's a scrolling code that changes every 30 seconds. And then again, with a hardware token, you actually have to physically have it. Use antivirus software and firewall on your devices. And yes, even if you're using a Mac or Apple device, you still need antivirus software and firewalls to protect the device. There is malware and viruses created for all devices. You want to make sure that you back up your data regularly and securely. One of the risks that we have with attacks these days is ransomware, where you lose access to all your data. Your entire device becomes encrypted and you have no access to your data. We want to prevent that from happening so that you can continue to hold all of your transactions and work with clients. So we want to make sure that we're protecting that data and backing it up. And then we want to make sure we're locking our devices. So when you log into your phone, instead of just swiping to open it, you want to make sure that you're using a PIN code, a passcode, fingerprint, Face ID, whatever it may be. Use that to control access to your phone so that if you leave it lying around, somebody can't gain access. And that same thing goes for your computer. Lastly, we also want to avoid any unsecured or public networks. I like to recommend using a VPN when available. And then another good option while you're traveling, if you're going from location to location, a lot of folks like to use those wireless hotspots that connect to the cellular network and create a Wi-Fi for your devices. Those are great options as well. I'd highly recommend those, definitely over unsecured public networks. All right, so next I want to go into setting up two-factor authentication with .loop. I know a lot of real estate professionals use .loop for communication, for documents, and so I want to walk through this. So when you log into the account, you'll be able to set up your account with two-factor authentication. Again, I'm going to walk through the authentication app because that is what I recommend. They do offer phone number as a backup if you'd like. So you log in, you'll click Authenticator app, and then you'll get this QR code. And this is very similar across any account that you're going to set up a two-factor authentication code for. You're going to get this QR code that's generated. You're going to use your Authenticator app on your device, and you're going to scan that QR code. This will tie that a long digit code to your account, and then it'll create scrolling codes after that. So the one-time code it'll generate is just a 6-digit code. You'll enter that into the text box, and that will make sure your accounts are linked. And then after your device is enrolled, you'll get this long digit code. Now, again, this is very similar regardless of the account or software that you use. You want to make sure that you save this code. This is a backup code, and this prevents your account from being lost in the event that you forget your password. If you forget your password, they're going to want the second factor authentication method to verify your identity. So if you ever lose your device or access to your Authenticator app, you're going to want this as your backup code. So I highly recommend you copy this, you save it securely, preferably not on your computer, preferably either on paper or in a password vault where it's actually going to be protected. All right, now we're going to do the same thing for Facebook, but this time we're going to focus on doing it for a personal account on Facebook and then looking at other login security options. So you log into your Facebook account, or you can also go to accountcenter.facebook.com. And if you log into your Facebook account, you'll want to click on the upper right corner. You have a little icon that looks like your profile picture. And then we're going to click on Settings and Privacy. That'll bring up this menu. And then we'll click on Settings, and it'll pop open this new window. In this window, we want to navigate to the Account Center. So it's hyperlinked in blue there. All right, so the shortcut was to type in accountcenter.facebook.com, but you can always get it from your personal profile. I just wanted to show that for everybody. So this screen will appear with your account information, and you're going to want to navigate to passwords and security. Now here you have the options to change your password. You'll get the option to log your two-factor authentication methods, and then you'll also get to see where you're logged in. So I really like this, especially if you're concerned about your account being compromised. This is where you'll be able to see every device that is currently logged into your Facebook account. So this is especially good if you know your password is compromised, you changed your password, but Facebook kept you logged in on those other devices. So that's where you want to check and make sure you recognize all the devices where you're logged in. And then easiest way to do all of this is to use a security checkup. This is like a wizard where it'll walk you through all the steps, changing your password, setting up two-factor authentication, and looking at where you're logged in, then setting up login alerts. All right, so now we're going to go back to this settings menu, and we're going to look at the activity log. Now the activity log will bring up this screen, and security and login information will bring you to where you're logged in and logged out. So this will show you all activity. So if you ever log in or out of a device, then that activity will be shown here. This is critical, especially when your account is compromised. This will show you the location, the IP address of all the logins on your account. So I highly recommend you use this if you're concerned, or contact me and I'm happy to help walk through this with you. All right, so next I want to talk about protecting your home and business network. So talking about your router, your wireless network, we want to make sure that we're turning on automatic updates. There are changes to software all the time, and there's always new attack vectors discovered in software, and so that needs to be updated. So you want to make sure automatic updates are turned on so that we have the latest and greatest security settings. We're going to want to change the default password for both logging into the router to the management page, And then for your Wi-Fi network, a lot of times the standard Wi-Fi network password and the login credentials are on a sticker on the bottom of the router. We want to avoid that. We want to be more protected, so we're going to use a password that we create. Next, we want to implement a network firewall. This will protect all of your devices from the open internet. So think of your router as kind of a gateway for the open internet. So there's great things and there's also bad things on the open internet. We want to use that firewall to decide what actually makes it through to our network. And then I want to talk about segmenting your home network. So this is what your typical network looks like. You're going to have your wireless router and you create your network where you connect all of your devices to. Well, when we segment it, that means we're going to create a separate network, a guest network. And this is actually an option on a lot of routers today, whether you have internet service provider router or whether you buy your own from the store. These are going to be options that are pretty easy to configure. So I highly recommend those because you trust all the devices on your network. You've already set up your antivirus software, you set up your firewalls. Well, if you allow a rogue device or an unknown device into your network and that device is already compromised with a virus, well, it can easily transverse to other devices on your network unless it's on a separate network itself. So that's why I like to emphasize having the segmented networks. So that was a lot of information, and I really want to emphasize that no two situations are alike, and no two individuals are alike. Your situation might be different, and the advice that I'm giving here today is just providing general information to reduce your cybersecurity risks. So it's different every time. I'm happy to help, but please use these as guidelines and not stop all catch all for all internet risks. So lastly, I just want to remind you to stay vigilant. I hope you've heard some of this information before, and I hope if you have, it was a good refresher and that you learned something new today. You want to make sure that you're staying informed, stay up to date on the latest threats and risks, train your teams, your employees, your clients, and then watch for those red flags and make sure that if you see something, you say something and contact the individual that may be being attacked. Remember, you play a critical role in securing your clients' data and their transactions. And I hope today that I've empowered you with some practical knowledge to navigate your digital real estate safely. And with that, I would like to take any questions you all have.
I have a question. That was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Can people hire you to like just look at all of their things and help get set up because there's so many moving pieces? Is that something you do?
Yes, absolutely. I would much rather help set things up correctly at the beginning than to have to fix things after an incident occurs. It's a lot easier, for example, with a Facebook account to set up two-factor authentication to have a secure password than to try to recover that account.
And then do you recommend like one password for people or things like that? And the auto-generated passwords, like we use one password, but I don't have a lot of the auto-generated because I don't have it like on all my phone. I need to put it on there, but how, like, talk maybe a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So password managers are great tools, and you mentioned one password. That is one I highly recommend. I do have an affiliate link on my website, so if you'd like to go through that, I'd really appreciate it. But yes, I do recommend using their auto-generated passwords. So they use some good methods to generate random passwords, and to generate a true random password is actually very difficult. Any password that is easily memorable means it's probably not random. Uh, we as humans can easily remember patterns and things like that. So when we remember passwords, it's usually because it's a pattern. Maybe it's a word, or maybe it's a pattern because we see letters that are commonly next to each other in the alphabet or other words. So their tool actually generates very good, strong, secure passwords that are really difficult to remember, and that's why we use password managers. One Password's a great option. There are other good options out there as well. I like to recommend that you don't use like the Apple keychain or the Google password managers that are built into those accounts because that's, in a sense, putting all of your eggs in one basket. If you use those and your Apple account gets compromised or your Google account gets compromised, now that attacker can have access to all your passwords. So I like to separate those in two different tools. And so that's why I recommend a password manager that's separate.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. What other questions do y'all have?
Hey, David, thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everybody. Hey, question for you. Are you familiar with RoboForm? Is that a password manager?
I've heard of it. I'm not as familiar with it.
Yeah, I've been using that. It seems to be working fine for me. But anyway, just curious about that.
Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's a lot of good options. There there are some that I recommend over others because of what I believe the companies are doing to protect data. And I'll use a quick example. LastPass was one of the world's most popular password managers, and they had a huge data breach. An attacker was able to gain access to their servers through one of their employees. And now, when they gained access, it was discovered that LastPass was not actually encrypting their client data. So all of our passwords were available without any encryption or very little encryption. So I like to look at the algorithms that the companies are using, the tools that they're using to determine whether or not I'm going to trust a password manager. And now I can't say I've looked at all of them. I've looked at a handful, but I have personally looked at 1Password and I trust them, and that's what I use. A RoboPass is probably, or I think that's what you mentioned, is a good option. And I also should mention there's also inherent risk with using cloud-based password managers. This is kind of a risk decision that an individual needs to make based on their comfort level. You kind of get that convenience for added risk. And personally, I do take the convenience option as well. I use a cloud-based manager, but there are offline managers. So if you want to save those two-factor authentication backup codes, for example, a great option for that is doing an offline password manager that just resides on your computer or a hard drive.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was awesome. Really good information. How much do you charge to like look at, like, if you were to go and just assess a business?
Yeah, so it depends. So I honestly I charge an hourly rate because every situation is different. I charge usually $120 an hour.
Okay.
But I'd like to first have the conversation with you, figure out what you're looking for, and see what it's going to take.
Do you have any recommendations if you have like a team where you have a lot of different people that need access to different accounts? Because I find that it's like, I want to add more of these like security measures, but it becomes very like cumbersome when I'm trying to give access to people on my team, like to my MailChimp account or to my social media account. So like, is there like a good way to organize that to allow access but still keep yourself protected?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It makes it a lot more difficult with the two-factor authentication codes. So when you're implementing that, a lot of times what will happen now is you'll actually get a stored session on your device. So after you authenticate it once with that second factor, it'll actually store the session on the device itself, and you won't have to do that again. But if you're sharing passwords and things like that, using password managers are great, even with teams, to actually share a strong password between all your team members. You can choose which passwords actually get shared between your team, and then also use it for your personal passwords as well. So that's a good way to make sure that you are keeping secure passwords, you're making unique passwords for different services, while still allowing others to access those accounts.
So Kat, that's what we do, and it's nice because, so for you all who have team members, you know, if someone leaves your team, you can remove access immediately, and you don't have to go change a million passwords like we used to do that, and it was just horrible. And so for people with agents, and then you can grant access to different things. So like we use 1Password. I have a private one just for my bank accounts and things like that, and then you can have a shared one. So it's a pretty it's pretty awesome. It's been great for us. I would never want to go back to the old way of how we used to do things. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a shared password manager, but I have LastPass, which apparently I should change. I've had the account with them forever.
Yeah, I used to have LastPass as well. So my data was compromised. It happens to everybody. But because of me, that broke my trust in LastPass.
Yeah.
You better switch now, Kat, and have David
I
help
know.
you. It's easier now than when he has to fix everything.
Yep.
I know. Ugh. I mean, it's just so annoying. It's a constant issue for my team because we log into MailChimp. I don't know if you guys use MailChimp, but we have like double, I don't know, some double authentication. We do the text message one, but like it doesn't still like, even though we'll say like store the info for 2 weeks so that you can let this computer in, it never works. So it's like I'm constantly getting barraged with text messages of people on my team trying to log in to Facebook, trying to log in to our email software, trying to log in. And it's annoying. So I'm like, and it takes simple, and also to even log into our website platform like Kajabi that we use, it's all through text message. And so I'm just trying to find a better way to organize all that because I'm
Sure.
constantly being texted and I don't know who's at requesting the codes. And I'm like, okay, which one of you wants this? Like, it's
I have a
annoying.
question actually that correlates with that, David. So we have Google Voice
Mhm.
and everyone on our team has it. So we use that for all of our two-step authentications. Is that safe? Because
It falls in line with all the other text message based authentication. So there's still risks. It's better than nothing. But that was actually something I was going to recommend to Kat too. So you can use like a VoIP, which is like Google Voice, to be that second factor authentication in those instances and have that be kind of a private phone number that doesn't get shared publicly to everybody, so that it's harder to know what that phone number is going to be, so that that'll also add some protection.
it works well. I mean, our whole team's on it. So
Yeah.
when a code comes up, unless you requested it, you don't care, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, luckily, knock on wood, I haven't been hacked yet. But in the event that we do get hacked, what is the first step we should take? What should we do?
Uh, Call me.
Okay,
It's
call someone.
it's different depending on your accounts, which account gets compromised. Um, it it's hard to kind of give blanket terms for or blanket process steps for everything. You're going to want to make sure that you contain it. So if, let's say, just your Kajabi that gets hacked, well, you want to make sure you don't share any passwords outside of that account, or you don't use Kajabi to log into any other accounts. Sometimes they can get connected and they'll get credentials for other accounts like Facebook or something like that. So you want to make sure you contain it as much as you can. And again, that goes for regardless of what the situation is. Try to make sure that all other passwords are changed. Any uh, You're going to want to try to stop the bleeding, essentially. So if it's you work with the service provider, most of the tools that you use are software as a service, and so they're going to be other teams that will be able to help you to recover those accounts. But again, just try to contain it the best you can. Make sure your team's aware of the situation. Make sure that they're protecting themselves as well. So that's the best I think I can do for just off the cuff blanket process. But again, I would recommend reaching out to a professional to help you in those situations, and work with a service provider as well to try to see what your options are. With Facebook accounts, social media accounts, those it's usually best to report those as is. And so especially Facebook, as I'll say, because I've seen a lot of Facebook accounts get compromised. With those, you want to make sure that you don't go ahead and create a new account, because what you're trying to do is recover the existing account. When you create another account, you're now saying, oh, this is me, instead of that. So it makes it more difficult for Facebook to determine which account is truly yours, which one belongs to you. So you want to make sure that you're not doing extra stuff that is unnecessary. Facebook has a good reporting tool when your account or a friend's account is hacked, that I recommend you go through those processes.
Do you find that they respond? Because whenever I reach out to Facebook for anything, I feel like it's never an actual human being. It's just like some sort of wait and see approach. So I don't know if you have any tips on actually getting a hold of Facebook when something like that happens, because I've had people, clients of mine, where either their accounts have been hacked or someone has created like a duplicate account and basically tried to like kind of steal their identity on Facebook. And so we've reported it, but like it just seems like nothing ever happens.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll address the compromised accounts first. So you're right, Facebook is terrible at responding. They really don't have people that reach out at all. So what you'll want to do is report the account as hacked, and then what you'll want to do. So when an attacker gains access to an account, one of the first steps they're going to do is change your password. And if your two-factor authentication is not turned on, they're going to turn it on and use their own phone number. So they're going to change everything that you use to log into your account, including your email address and phone number. And so when they do that, you'll get emails that say, hey, you're changing this information. So you want to look into your email and look for that traffic, look for those emails from Facebook saying that information's been changed. And they're time-based links where you can actually click them to say, hey, that wasn't me, my account's compromised. And so that would be the first step. A lot of it's automated process. Outside of that, the next step I would recommend is to go to any device that you've actually logged into your account with before. Again, I mentioned the login sessions storing cookies, or those login sessions on the device themselves. That is your benefit, because that is saying, hey, this was me. So I can, instead of going on my phone, I'll go to my computer and try logging in there. And that's where you'll be able to recover the account in most circumstances. Outside of that, the only way that Facebook will respond to an individual request is if you go through legal channels. And so typically I'll work with attorney generals to recover accounts that way.
Okay. So, which is annoying because then you have to hire a lawyer to represent you in order for them to pay attention to you, it sounds like.
Well, you don't have to hire a lawyer. You can use your state's attorney general to make the contact. And so they'll reach out to Facebook, Meta on your behalf to help recover your account.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Also, I have heard that you should never use your, you know how when you go to create a login on different accounts and it'll say like, login through Google or login through Facebook. I've heard that that's like a big no-no, right?
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay.
That is true. Yeah. So similar to storing your passwords in Apple or Google accounts, if you allow those sites to log into those accounts, they are also gaining access to your Google or Apple, Facebook accounts. And you have to really trust that third party. And so the more third parties that actually have access to those login credentials, the more at risk you are from a compromise actually losing control of those accounts. So I recommend signing up with a fresh account, sign up with your email address rather than using those quick login links like through Facebook, Google, or Apple.
Okay, cool.
Hey, David, I'm
Yes,
jumping
sir.
here. I had about a month ago, I guess somebody sent me an email. It looks like you got spoofed. So they got these, I guess an email looked like it came from me and it didn't come from me.
Yep.
What do you do in that instance? Just change your password, or is there anything else you can do?
So the lookalike, so they can spoof email, they can spoof phone numbers, and so it's hard to stop those. The individual that received it can report it as a phishing email. Whoever their mail provider is will probably have a method of doing that. I know all the major email companies are going to have options where you can report it, but also report it to ic3.gov. That's FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Report it there. Sounds like there wasn't any loss of information, which is good because they caught it. But still report those attempts, because what the FBI or the service providers can do is to help stop those. So there's a lot of great tools that are being developed every day to help prevent and catch some of those attempts. And that goes into databases to feed information, that goes into email filtering. So now the providers can start filtering out emails that came from that domain that was a spoof domain, that sort of thing.
Thank you. So who's more at risk there, me or the person who got the spoofed email?
The person that got the spoofed email. But again, it's not uncommon because I'm sure your email address is very widely known, and so it's easy to take those accounts and spoof them. But I guess you would be at risk because someone else has your email address. So again, kind of separating your personal life from your professional life, making sure that you have that separation so that your personal accounts are less risk.
Okay, thank you.
Lots of good questions. I like it.
Do you think it's better as a real estate agent on your website to have forms that people have to fill out to contact you versus having your email publicly displayed? Or does it not matter?
So the form is I guess a little bit more of a hassle for some. It's a kind of just a trade-off. I use a form, but my email is also publicly available, but I also have safeguards in place. I have spam filtering in place to help prevent some of those spam emails coming through. Honestly, it's hit or miss. So most likely your email address is going to be publicly known anyway, because if it's not on your website, it's going to be on some signage, it's going to be on your social media accounts. So just the fact that it's not on the website, it doesn't really buy you a whole lot.
Hey, what was that site again? IC3.gov?
That's right. Yep.
I just try to go in there, nothing's happening, that's all.
That is strange. Let me see.
Oh, never mind, it just came up. It just
Okay.
came up. Okay.
All
It was
right.
taking a while.
And you can use IC3 for reporting personal and professional internet crimes. Even if you haven't lost money, like I said, even attempts, I'd recommend that you use that tool, report it.
And David, can I ask if we hire you to help us, can you get on our phone? I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to say it because I'm amongst friends. But my phone, like, it'll come up and it'll have like, oh, you have like 43 passwords you should be changing. And I'm just like, oh, okay, thank you. And I don't change any of them. I'm just like, the cat knows me. She's like, yeah, Katie and technology don't go together.
That's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, whatever.
She was thinking Rob's got 44, but anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking I get the same thing on mine and I am tech savvy.
But so can you get into our phones if we hire you to like fix all, like how much I'm trying to figure out, like, in some ways I just feel so far gone and I'm just like praying. But how do you help us in that case?
So there are remote access tools that I can use to help with your phone, or your
Oh, it's
phone
just
or
like
your
the
computer.
computer one, but you put
Yep.
it on my phone, the remote access?
That's right. Yeah. So you would have to
Okay.
download an app.
Okay, all right.
But yeah,
I've
it's
done it on the
possible.
computer before. All right, thank you. I'll be in
Yeah.
touch.
And you should change those passwords.
Yeah, or you can. I'll call you.
There you go.
Do you recommend like kind of doing an audit of this like once a year, once every 6 months? Like, is there, because I feel like this is one of those things that like we all know we need to do, but we all just push to the back burner until
Yeah.
it's like actually an emergency.
Mhm.
And so if we're trying to be more proactive, and obviously we're having this webinar to bring awareness to this topic because it is something that can kind of easily get overlooked. But do you have a recommendation of how often should we be evaluating our security and, maybe taking some action?
Yeah, that's a good question. You should be doing it regularly. I know that's not like time based, but once a year is probably a good rule of thumb. The other thing I'm thinking of is there's data breaches all the time. There's these large data breaches. If you use any sort of monitoring service, or you can even, if you see it in the news, like the most recent large one was AT&T. 51 million AT&T customers got hacked. Unfortunately, those are good opportunities to remind yourself that you need to go and do a self audit of your passwords and your accounts to make sure that any information that could have been in that leak is not going to be used against you. And so, one reason I like 1Password, they actually do look for those leaked passwords during those data breaches. So it will help you. They have this feature called Watchtower. It helps you to actually do that scan to know if your password's been compromised, and that'll kind of create a priority of which passwords to change. And I know I've had some clients that have had like hundreds of passwords that are either weak passwords or they've been compromised. And so then you just kind of have to hit them in a priority order, and try to have maybe a couple a day until you get your whole situation cleaned up. After you're in a good state, really just refreshing like once a year, like looking at, okay, what accounts did I add? What technology did I add to my life? And how can I better secure that? That would be a good kind of just rule of thumb to do.
All right, cool. Well, we're down to our last 5 minutes. My only last question that I had, and then if anyone else has any last questions, is if you're going to use like a 1Password, should you have two separate accounts for like personal and business to kind of separate those out, or does it matter? Can we just throw them all into one?
I throw them into one. Again, it's one of those convenience things. It's it's again, what is your risk tolerance? You're kind of putting your eggs in one basket there. But because 1Password uses multi-factor authentication, and they do a pretty good job at local only second factor authentication. So with 1Password, you're required to type in a like 64 character string for every new device that has access. So they do a token in that method, which helps to protect the account. So I personally feel comfortable putting both in that same bucket. And it's, again, just kind of convenient, so I don't have to toggle through multiple accounts.
Okay.
But personal preference.
That was good information, David. And
Thank
Heather,
you.
Utah is looking very tropical these days.
I'm in Maui.
Nice. Well, enjoy.
Enjoy the
It's-
warm weather. It just snowed, like basically snowed in the mountains here yesterday and rained all day. So
Well, we're heading home at 9 p.m. tonight, sadly, but we've been here almost 2 weeks. So
Nice.
got Michelle Mills over there in the house. So I should have grabbed her and put her on this call too.
Awesome.
But
Oh, glad you
thank you,
enjoyed.
David. Great,
Thanks,
great
everybody. Thank
information.
you.
Thank you for letting me
Fun, yeah.
present. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. I'll be in touch.
All right, sounds great.
All right, take care.
I will email you guys all his contact info as a follow-up later this week. If you want to reach out to him, feel free to. I'm sure he would love to work with whoever's interested.
I
I
would.
took a
Thank
picture
you.
of his contact info, so.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks, guys. Safe
Bye-bye.
travels.
Thanks so much.
I'm off.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye.
Fine.